Good afternoon. This evening, I'm going to be talking to you about my educational philosophy. My philosophy as an adult education and training professional is to remember that unique experiences arise every day in the lives of my learners as adult students. As an instructor, I must consider trainees and learners in my learning groups and seminars as unique and individual. It is also important that I remember how important education is to these individuals in their everyday lives and in my philosophy toward education began with hard work and events that made me recognize the means of resolving problems without a complete education in my early adulthood. So in my early adulthood, I didn't really have much of an education and I had a lot of struggles. So when I go into teaching other adults, I plan to recognize and understand what some of them are going through and how much of an accomplishment it is to them that they are returning to their education. But along the way, I had to remain open-minded, enthusiastic, and I have to remain empathetic, as I said, to these learners because I have been in their place and I know how it feels to need to continue your education so that you can follow your dreams and hopes for your future, your family's future, and you can be proud of yourself. You can have intrinsic and extrinsic most motivations. With teaching and training and working with adults, I must consider the experiences they have been through on their journey back to education. Education is essential because only through education can we change our lives, the lives of our families, and even the lives of people we interact with throughout our lifetimes. It is also essential to recognize that some of the many ways adults who pursue education can help change their communities and even society in whole. My learners and trainees are working toward a brighter future no matter where they are in their lives today. Education is always a pathway to knowledge, skill, and a change of perception in the world around you. The way I plan to approach my learners is in a pragmatic way of learning. This is the best way that I learn by accomplishing tasks to prove and practicing hands-on problem-solving techniques and project-based study help me to learn valuable lessons I can apply to my everyday life. As Dr. Dewey said, knowledge should be used to act on things. An idea is accurate if it has practical efficacy. John Dewey was considered one of the forerunners of the pragmatic movement in the United States in the late 1800s and through the early 1900s. Also, how what do I consider my teaching style? Okay, my teaching style I would approach is hands-on and pragmatic. I would approach my learners to discuss what they are expecting to gain from the lessons. Then I would explain how I will instruct them throughout the learning process because I teach from a pragmatistic standpoint. I will develop a project-based learning event that will build on the learner's curiosity and interest of the topic. This can be achieved through simulations allowing learners to develop their knowledge of the task and project at hand. The learner will have to identify the study's problem and form in a group. They'll form groups, and together they will realize that what the solution is to the problem, or what the problem is first. The problem will be directly related to the real situation and intends to resolve this dilemma. Still, they will have to learn through trial and error, because the question will take more than one action to resolve. But that is the whole purpose of this activity, for learners to begin to think of things to do with why they chose to continue and further their education and training process. And finally, how would I support my learners? I would support my learners by having an open door policy where they can always where they're always welcomed and can talk to me about situations that might arise in life, in class, and anytime they might need to talk. I'll be there for them. I also will keep my learners motivated and encouraged by offering them time off and incentives for completing tasks and showing their effort in the class throughout their learning experience. So that is my educational philosophy. That is how I like to be trained. That's how I like to learn. Um, that is how I plan to approach my learners. And this is how I consider the teaching style I consider most useful. Okay, and how do I support learning? Like I said, I support my learners through having an open door policy and being there for them if they need to talk. Okay, thank you. Y'all have a nice evening. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate your time. Good evening.